Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is our work session for the month of August. I'd like to welcome everybody to tonight's meeting. Just going to do roll call, flag salute, recognition of guests, recognition of meetings. 6 o'clock to 6:40 executive session for personnel on July 10th, 2024, and from 7 to 7:20 combined work session and regular board. Item 2, no presentations. Item 3, no reports from standing committees of the board. And item 4, Mr. Rich says there's no administrative supervisor. So,
They got one, this is their last month of reprieve, September to May, they will have their admin.
I do have one question for that. Tell us about the water system.
Water system is complete. DEP was here today, and happy to say that she was very happy with all the results. All of our water tests is 0, which is a great compared to what we had for iron and manganese. We're having a little issues right now. We pump the pressure up, but one kind of big lines, and it'll take a little while to get completely out of the lines, but the system is working great right now.
Good. Item 5, comments or questions from the floor relative to agenda items. Nobody online. Item 6, we are approving the minutes. Item 7, we will be approving the treasurer's report and the investment report for July. I'd like to stop right there. We do have a board member. We need to get out a little bit early tonight, so I want to make sure we have a chance to vote on item O, athletic training.
So the job description, compensation plan, and then the hire.
I don't think anything's really changed from there.
And then
Okay, it'll be and the athletic training job description, and athletic trainer compensation plan, and item O, the athletic trainers.
so move.
Motion by Mr. Numa, second by Mr. Hill. Any discussion on any motions? Any negative votes? Any abstentions? Motion carries. All in favor?
Congratulations, Eric.
Thank you very much, everyone.
You don't have to stick around for the rest. Right? Let's celebrate now.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Item 8 is we will have the list of general fund bills. Item B, list of food service fund bills. Item 9, personnel, retirements, resignations. I accept the following retirement resignations: Ashley Atwell, instruction, special education, paraprofessional, effective July 29th, 2024. Resignation, Miss Betsy Wolford, musical choir director, effective July 23rd, 2024. Resignation, Brenda Haney, assistant girls basketball coach, effective July 23rd, 2024. Any questions on? Okay. Item B, part-time middle high school custodian. Approve the employment of Alexis King as part-time custodian assigned to Laurel High School Middle School at the rate of $13 an hour. Ms. King has been a substitute custodian since September of 2022. Any questions on that? Item C, technology tutor. Approve the employment of O. Savannah as technology education tutor at a salary of $21,000 effective for the 24-25 school year. Any questions on items? And this is a position we had before.
Yeah, Mr. Wypack said.
Okay. And item, I guess there's two of those, Savannah and for the employment of Amy Boardner as musical director for the 24-25 school year at the rate of $6,000 as per collective bargaining agreement. Any questions on item 9? Item E, co-assistant athletic directors. We will have two names as co-athletic directors for the 2024-25 school year at the rate of $3,600 each, pending receipt of required clearances and documentation. Questions on item E? Item F, van and bus drivers. Approve the employment of Christopher Donegan and Kathleen Donegan as bus van drivers for the 24-25 school year, pending receipt of required clearances and documentation. Any questions on item F? Got a husband-wife team. You're good people. Item G, substitute bus van driver. Approve the rehire of Jody Yoder as a substitute bus driver, van driver, effective for the 2024-25 school year, pending receipt of updated clearances and required documentations. Any questions? Item H, approve the employment of, we will have a name Wednesday as elementary personal care special education aide at the rate of $11 an hour. You've interviewed for these people, I assume?
I did, yes.
Oh, okay. Any questions on item H? Item I, elementary instructional aides. We will have a name for the elementary instructional aide at the rate of $11 an hour for the 24-25 school year, pending receipt on the updated clearances and required documentation. Any questions? Item J will be the superintendent's evaluation. I think I still need yours, Nancy's, Dave's, and Seth. Okay.
Fine, when I put it on the agenda, it goes up in priority.
Well, yeah, we may have to table it from I mean, when I get them all back, there's some formula that you gotta go through, so I'm gonna have to work on that a little bit, but yeah, I think we can get those all turned in. We can get those figured out. Item K, additions to the volunteer and non-instructional substitute listing for 24-25 school year. Any questions on item K? We should have that listed. We haven't had a chance to look at it. Any questions on item K? Item L is professional development workshops and seminars. For the following workshops and seminars, Ms. Jennifer Heilman to the IU for Curriculum Instruction and Assessment Workshop, September 13th, 2024 in Grove City at the Costa District for registration and mileage, and Mr. James Hoyland to the mandatory in-service training at Allegheny County Police Academy. The Costa District is for mileage. Any questions on item L?
See ya. Safe travels.
And just so we're to end, go to O. Item 10, board action items, committee report. Approve the review and first reading of the following and attached policies. Policy 103, discrimination, harassment, and affecting students, and policy 104, discrimination, harassment affecting employees. This is one we may have to talk about.
Yes, I think if we go through the other items, we don't have to talk about them. conclude the meeting by coming back and have a robust conversation.
Item B, policies, first reading. Policy 103.1, non-discrimination, qualified students with disabilities. 234, pregnant parenting, marriage status students. 247, hazing. 249, bullying, cyberbullying. 252, dating violence. 317.1, educator misconduct. 33.6, personal necessity leave. 807, opening exercise, moment of silence, flag displays, and 824, maintaining professional adult and student boundaries. The 807, what's with the moment of silence?
So that's particularly to 9/11, and it mandates a moment of silence in all schools on 9/11. Just if you want a summary, the board was emailed a memorandum, the spreadsheet, policy number, title, and a brief summary of changes. But that's what that one is. That's a really small, straightforward policy.
Okay. Item C, a la carte pricing. Approve the attached list of a la carte items for the 24-25 school year. Item D, bid acceptance for repository property purchase. Accept bid 1 for 500 from Mackenzie Crawford to purchase parcel from Loras County Repository. Parcel is located on Rock Springs Road in Scott Township.
Jen, you want to?
I can try to. The county has it's called the repository. It's just a list of properties that no taxes have been paid on for many years, and they just sit idle. And if you are a landowner or a resident that maybe has one of these little, they're usually little tiny slivers of land on a hill that's next to you, you can buy it, and it'll put it back on the tax roll. So it's always a benefit for us. We don't see the $500 that goes to the county, but at least it gets back on the tax rolls, and we start collecting it real estate taxes.
Okay.
We have them maybe 2-3 times a year. It's really rare.
Item E, so detached 2024-25 Beaver Valley IU agreement for special bed service at New Horizons. Any questions on item E?
Just as a reminder, that's the emotion support program. It's going to be at Kim Middle School and save us loads on transportation. And it could grow. If they have success there, it could grow to other disabilities, autism, like, so let's see what happens. We're happy to save a little bit of money here.
Any questions on item E? Item F is approve the attached 2024-25 bridge handbook.
That deals with our technology and appropriate use.
Item G, approve the attached 2024-25 middle high school faculty handbook. Any questions on item G? Item H, elementary faculty handbook. Any questions on item H? Looks like this is different. Is there a difference between?
Just some minute details relative to each building.
It's basically operations. I mean, all of the policies have been the same, but operations are a little bit.
What time they start, and I mean, that's just one example.
Item I is the 2024-25 student activities handbook. Any questions on item I? Item J, 2024-25 coaches handbook. Any questions on item J? Item K, 2024-25 student athletic handbook. Any questions on item K? Item L, creation and addition of Clarko and bylaws.
The Ramsey Marvin Club Advisor.
Okay. Any questions on item L? Item N, adult breakfast price revision. price from $2.50 to $2.85 is required by the Pennsylvania Department of Nutrition. Any questions on item N? So they set our prices, we don't.
We had to have a particular difference.
Okay. So it's not all our fault, prices.
No, you want to explain exactly what we have to do. Since we get,
Because we get federal dollars and state dollars, and we get a little bit more at the elementary, the price down there, is more than at the high school, but we're not gonna try to track two different prices across both buildings, so it's gotta go up.
Item N, approve the attached agreement between the Lowell School District and Hickory Township Police.
so I had, Mr. Mangino, review that. I didn't get it to him in a very timely fashion. He has some suggestions. We're going to pull it for this month, if you don't mind, and, put it back on for September.
I did not agree. Item O, standing physician protocol. Approve the attached standing physician protocol between Eric Johnson, ATC, and Dr. Megan Roth Miller beginning August 1st as required by the common uniform.
You know, just like our school nurse has to have doctor's orders in order to administer, he has to have doctor.
Okay, new business, I guess we'll go back to the back.
All right, give me one moment to set.
Well, Mr. Ridge is doing that, just so you know, this will be on next week as well. I totally forgot to put it on there tonight, but they are here. If anybody wants to look through them.
The bus routes.
The bus routes for approval will be on next week, so, just want to know that they are here, if anybody, just my vision.
How about the calendars?
Calendar update.
They've been ordered, they're in print, hopefully going to see them soon. The company that's printing them does distribute them, or post office. So they'll handle putting all the addresses on and getting them out.
One of the biggest issues, Laurel, this year was it's the first year in a 2-year cycle for sports to get schedules. So the WPL did not release winter sports schedules, wrestling, basketball, until the middle of July. So it was either you totally just only have fall sports on there and delete. We still don't even have spring.
Calendar really impresses me.
Yeah, we don't even have spring sports schedules yet. So, but next year, because all they do is then the WPL, they just flip flop. If you play home this year, you play away next year. So next year it shouldn't be as much of a delay because we'll have the schedule. So that was a big part of
on
it.
the website,
Yeah.
so you can access it on the website.
We have the right year.
Yeah, I remember that.
We've already had to change some games and things on here. It keeps
So
changing.
first of all, I don't even know why you do spring sports schedules. You should do it day to day. This is so much Okay. All right, so I want to provide a little bit of background as to how we got here, and then we can engage in discussion. I also, at your table, you have a memorandum of a legal opinion by Mr. Mangino. And as you're looking at and hearing my presentation and looking at Mr. Mangino, keep in mind his job is to have a small c conservative opinion and protect the district relative to legal issues, suit, and the like. Okay. So the U.S. Department of Education released final Title IX regulations providing vital protections against sex discrimination. What is Title IX? Title IX is the federal civil rights law passed in 1972 that prohibits schools that receive federal funds from discriminating on the basis of sex. Now, as you can imagine, Webster's Dictionary 1972
sex, Webster's Dictionary 2024 sex, the definitions would not be the same. The law contains these 37 words: no person in the United States on the basis of sex be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. And we do receive federal monies. Why is Title IX in the news now? As of April 19th, 2024, USDE released its much anticipated Title IX regs, which broadened the definition of sexual discrimination to include gender identity and flipped the 50-year-old federal law on its head. Under the revisions, anyone can self-identify into single-sex spaces, bathrooms, locker rooms, and single-sex activities by claiming to be the opposite sex. The new rules also suppress and compel speech and roll back due process protections. The proposed changes are set to take effect August 1st. So here we are, they're in effect. But that timeline will likely change as the Biden administration responds to lawsuits. So there are 15 states currently in a number of different lawsuits against the federal government. There are 118 school buildings in Pennsylvania suing the federal government. So 35 states have to follow this. 15 states who've engaged in these lawsuits operate under the status quo, which is what we currently have as approved policy as of 2020, until the resolution of the lawsuits. Pennsylvania did not choose to join in the lawsuit. That's why we are one of the 35. Not for any particular reason. We did not, and we're not solicited to join the lawsuits from the moms defending liberty, the parents defending education. So that's why we're having this discussion today. So here's what can happen. If the 15 states win, what we currently have will stand. If the 15 states lose, what they are proposing will stand. If Trump wins in November, it will go back to what it was prior to Biden administration changing, which means what we have currently would stand. If Harris wins, then what is currently being proposed will stand. So congratulations, we're in a mess. Safety and fairness will be deeply compromised in K-12 schools. And you just said that to me, as a matter of fact, you're concerned about safety. If these changes are allowed to stand. All right, let me see how my technical skills are here, Rob. So, do you have to do volume?
No, do you have it connected?
It's going to echo. So if I press play on this, oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry. You're on one slide, I got to share the new slide, sorry.
You're driving.
Let me try this again.
Title IX is a 52-year-old federal law that prohibits sex discrimination in schools or facilities that receive federal funding. Recent Biden administration regulations try to broaden the definition of sex discrimination to include gender identity and flip the 50-year-old federal law on its head. Under the revisions, anyone can self-identify into single-sex spaces like bathrooms and locker rooms and single-sex activities by claiming to be the opposite sex. The new rules also suppress protected speech and even compel speech on sensitive topics and roll back due process protections. For K-12 schools, these changes will allow biological males in girls-only activities and spaces, base access to facilities on gender identity, not biological sex, punish students and staff who misgender or don't use a person's preferred pronouns. In athletics, allow males to compete in girls' sports, increase physical injury risk for female athletes, undermine parental oversight of their child's safety and well-being, remove privacy and safety in sex-separated spaces like locker rooms. These rules will be enforced by the Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights. Any schools found in violation of these new rules face a federal investigation and may lose federal funding. These changes violate students' constitutional rights and affect student safety, fairness, and parental rights, and pose significant challenges for schools.
Okay, second. Now that we're all inspired. So keep some things in mind. We have a standing document that was passed by this Board of Education that if an opponent has a transgender athlete, that we expect them to adhere to what we do in our own house. Because we do not have transgender women on our women's teams. We have allowed women to compete on the boys' team if the women assume their own risk, hence our kicker. Okay? Because we believe that having a transgender woman on a women's basketball team is not only an unfair advantage, but a safety issue. So, as you heard, this will completely strip away due process protections for students accused of sexual misconduct. Let me also say something relative, because this addresses preferred pronouns as well. I've been in this business over 30 years. You don't go into education because you don't like kids. I've had a passion, not unique to myself. I've had a passion for young people, a passion to make them better. Over the course of my career, it's been primarily in secondary education. I have seen teenagers cry out for attention. If you think back to the 1990s, would it not be common to find teenagers expressing themselves in an identity that would include black clothes, black makeup, black fingernails? Remember the goss? How many do we see today? It's my concern that this is the latest where students are trying to find out who they are and express themselves. There also is something called gender dysphoria. There also has been links between transgender students and higher rates of self-harm. To my point, we need to have compassion and we need to address the illness. Also with constitutional rights. Mine currently stop here and stop here, as does his, as does hers. My individual constitutional rights are just as important as yours. Not any more, not any less. If you want me to call you he, I'm not going to do it. You don't look like a he to me. Now, to be honest with you, I've got this image in my head a couple of years ago before all this became popular. we had at another place, a young female. I didn't know she was a female. She was in her work boots. She had her back turned to me, blue jeans on, a t-shirt. She had a short haircut. I don't want to venture on whether it's appropriate, but short haircut, like almost like mine. From the back, she looked like a young man. So when I bumped into her in the hallway, I said, "Excuse me, young man." And she turned around. I said, "Sorry." And she said, "Don't worry about it." She kind of liked the manly image, if you will. Point being is, if you look like a duck, if you walk like a duck, if you quack like a duck, I'm going to call you a duck, not a chicken. That's my preference. That's my right, which is no more or less important than your preference and right. So, am I flying in the face of the federal government? I guess. But I'm telling you, be prepared to write me up, because I'm not playing that game and trying to figure out what you are. I've been saying he and she to he's and she's for 54 years. I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm not trying to discount anyone's identity. I have sympathy. I have empathy for what these young kids are going through. I have this opinion not because I don't care, because I do. K-12 athletics, all biological males to participate in girls-only sports. I don't recommend that we advance that here. Requires schools to construct new accommodations for transgender students and develop new protections for privacy, safety, fairness of existing male student athletes. Put biological females at a higher risk for physical injury. Again, I reference the notable incident, the national incident of the male collegiate volleyball player who ended the girl's career by spiking it across the net and giving that female competitor a concussion. I don't know what's going on at the Olympics. I know this. 2 female boxers failed a gender test by the International Boxing Association. We all saw the Paisan princess from Italy take one punch and decide this was not for me. This infringes upon parental rights to oversee their child's safety and well-being at school-sponsored events, eliminate privacy and safety in sex-separated spaces such as locker rooms, restrooms, athletic, medical rooms. How is Title IX administered? So schools are required to address sex discrimination, including conduct that interferes with an individual's equal access to educational opportunities. A school's failure to address or respond to discrimination can jeopardize its federal funding. With gender identity added to the definition of sex, disallowing a man from using the girls' bathroom would be considered discrimination under the revised law. So, we are supposed to provide supportive measures, counseling, academic accommodations. Again, any student who is going through any type of crisis or whatnot, not only do we have guidance counselors, but we have a contract with Angelus, a mental health provider. We have access to the Human Service Center, another mental health provider. We are supposed to prevent retaliation, clear policies and procedures. We must do a Title IX training, i.e., I'm building the Title IX training for every, not teacher, listen, for every employee. So building and grounds, interior, whomever, we're going to have to document this Title IX training. It provides a revised grievance procedure, lower burden of proof, right of appeal, training for staff, as I said. Now, if you want more resources and support, you can look at USDE website, EDE's website, or once again, reference legal counsel. Having set the background, I'll defer to our president and vice president for opening comment.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more, Len. I mean, I've always said this is about safety.
One for me.
Yeah.
First and everything.
I mean, it comes down to safety. It comes down to privacy. And I don't understand how you can take a law that was, I assume, voted on at one time into law and can just be rewritten and we're all supposed to accept it. I mean, I would expect we're probably going to take a little bit of a beating from the government from it, but until people stand up and start questioning this, I just, it's going to get worse, and I'm not going to be a part of it. Just not going there.
I think Tim brings up a great point. Revised law. To me, that's the biggest crock of the door I've ever heard. There was no law revised. Nothing was voted on by the Senate and House of Representatives. I don't remember any legislation. I mean, I obviously remember it anyhow, but I don't remember any legislation being signed into law that modified Title IX. It's the same, like if you go, I'm assuming, look at legislation, the Title IX legislation is the same 37, is that what it was? 37 words it was the last 40 years. So these revisions, to me, that's one thing about our Supreme Court. Like it or not, I'm seeing it as far as in the ag community, they are really paring back USDA's ability to go after and, or so I guess I should say the EPA. They're really curtailing their ability to just nilly-willy come up with their own mandates. And it's in the spirit of the law. And the Supreme Court, to their credit, has said, no, there's no spirit of the law. Law is law. If you want it to be so, get a bill in the House or Senate, pass it in both chambers, send it up to the president, he'll sign it. Now you have a law, right? I mean, regardless of whether it's for, environmental impacts, in this case, gender impacts, if it's such an accepted principle that we now have, it's non-binary anymore, it's just very fluid, then the least they can do is not say we revise the law. No, if you want to revise a law, it means you create new law, to me. I mean, it's the same thing. This reminds me of COVID. And, a lot of people say it was a psyop or whatever it was. I mean, we look pretty foolish. The governor's like, restaurants close, you close, you're not essential. Yeah, you're essential. You can keep your business and you're going bankrupt and you're done too. And everybody just was like, okay, let's roll over and play dead. There was a couple businesses that said, you know what, we're just going to go ahead and stay open because who are you? Who are you? There's no law. Nobody passed a law during COVID that says, yeah, we now have a king that sits in Harrisburg. You just can't do that. And what happened? They threatened them, we're going to take your funding, the biggest boogeyman ever, funding. That's what they said. We're going to take your license. We're going to take this, take that. All of these lawsuits that went against these restaurants and stuff, to my knowledge, have never resulted in a win for the state. They just kind of went vaporized because there is no law. So when I see this, and Tim brought it up first, we revised. No, you didn't. You just came up with a new interpretation, right? I mean, we saw what, in the spirit of what we passed as a board, what XY can do against XX in the arena. You can, like Mr. Rich said, you can end a girl's volleyball career, or you can start knocking teeth out. I believe what we passed as a board does exactly, not an interpretation of the 37 words of Title IX. We are in fact enforcing exactly the spirit of Title IX, which is protecting the sanctity of a female's right to play in a safe and cordial environment where she's going to go against, or we won't even say she, an XX is going to line up across another XX and let's see who the best person is. could care less. Tim could care less, but everybody else could care less. You leave here, or if you're here, how you personally see yourself, it doesn't matter. Nobody cares, that's fine. We are not legislating on how we think people should feel about themselves. Doesn't matter. But it is our job to make sure every child that goes to our district, whether as a visitor or as one of our student athletes, is as safe as humanly possible. We can't legislate danger out of sports or extracurriculars. I mean, every time, you play football or basketball, you could get injured. But we can sure skew it in the student athlete's favor and the female's favor by not putting her against somebody that has testosterone, higher bone density, higher muscle mass. I mean, there's a reason the International Boxing Association won't let transgenders do it. Dana White and the UFC is not going to let them do it. Not because he's a bigot, because he doesn't want people hurt. And that's all we want. And I think when we look at Title IX, we can talk about revised law. That doesn't make any sense. I don't remember seeing the House or Senate pass anything. When they do, I guess we're going to get drugged to the altar, I guess, because it doesn't matter.
And to be clear, I mean, I'm all for it. Equal education. I don't care who you are. Equal education. I don't think you should be picked on or bullied because you're different. But when it comes to sports and when it comes to girls' locker rooms and restrooms, you went down a different path than given equal protection for education.
And on the flip side, I don't know how comfortable boys would be in a bathroom with someone assuming their gender is female. I mean, it there's a lot of things that could be said that could happen.
In another place, I've dealt with that.
Yeah.
What I have seen is initially they'll try to be nice. It's uncomfortable. Okay. Maybe they'll express that discomfort and you try to reason with the person exercising that. But you're 100% right. You have sons,
Well, I told you just to walk out if that situation reversed.
because what happens if that girl says your son did? There's no,
No, it's your word.
for the record, there's no cameras in the bathrooms. Good move, Mom.
Yeah. No,
That's a shame you had to have that conversation.
Somebody bypass some due process. What does that mean?
I'm sorry.
There's a due process clause in there.
So they're entitled to due process. So if there's an allegation of harassment, like for example, you go on our board docs right now, okay? There's a process of investigation. There's a process of decision. There's a process of either it happened or it didn't. There's a process of appeal. So it's due process in that sense, relative to allegations. Like for example, I'm the Title IX coordinator for the district. Okay. The decision maker should have a background in law. So our policies, our solicitor is the decision maker. Our middle high school principal is the chief investigator. So we have clear policies about if we get an investigation, because as you said, you're not out to harass them or have any students up for harassment. But there's a due process system if there is an allegation of sexual harassment or any harassment.
Mr. Rich, I don't mean to interrupt you. We actually have that on our website for public view. Under resources, there's a whole page for Title IX, just all our policies and everything and procedures. So it's out there. It's not just on board docs, the public can see it as well.
So in anticipating how we might react to 103 and 104, there'll be two separate votes. One on 103 and 104, and then one on 103.1, which is not 103, and through 8, whatever. So I would encourage you between now and next week, have the summary, you have the drafts, and look, there's 9 people here. Obviously, I've expressed my opinion, as has board leadership. But you're elected. If you feel differently, vote differently.
Well, I mean, and have conversations with people in your community about it. I don't think a lot of people know this is even happening. And, you know, after it happens and everybody gets excited about it, when it's too late. After our vote on our original policy, there was so much support in this community for that policy. I don't see them changing their mind about this. It's about safety. It's about policy. Not about being a bigot, a homophobe. It's about safety and privacy.
Any other question, comment, concern, myself or leadership on this issue?
Okay. Is there anything else? If not, I will. Thank you for coming out.